Good morning, Martin. How are you?
So,
How's everything?
unlike Alexandra, the last presenter, I'm actually in Brisbane. Great to be here, David. First time I've spoken at the AI Brisbane Bootcamp.
Yeah, that's amazing, actually, and it's great because you moved just before COVID-19 era. You moved from New Zealand to Queensland, right?
Very nearly. So I moved from New Zealand to Melbourne about 5 years ago. I moved from Melbourne to Brisbane in January. So very, very timely. Got out of Melbourne in time. Spent about 2 months here and then a bit of lockdown. And so still exploring the place, and I reckon I will be for the next few years.
Okay. But we need to ask this question. So far, do you like more Queensland than the cold and crazy weather in Melbourne?
Well, yeah. Queensland's got a lot going for it. Like, I mean, it's a huge state. Great weather. We actually drove up to Cairns since we've been here. Big drive there and back. I guess the only real thing that takes getting used to here is it gets light really early in the morning, especially in the summer. I was up at 5:30 this morning. Yeah, crazy.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. I feel the pain as well.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So we have lined up a great presentation about Azure Cognitive Services. I don't want to take more of your time. So what I'll do, I'll leave you in the stage, and good luck. We'll enjoy this topic, actually.
Okay, thanks a lot, David. Thanks a lot. Okay, so this is introduction to Azure Cognitive Services. Basically, I'm going to assume no knowledge. I know we just had a presentation about digging into some of the nuts and bolts of AI, but this presentation itself assumes like no knowledge at all. Even if you've got a bit of knowledge, you should be at home. So let's get into it. So the flow of the presentation is, so I'll introduce myself first. I'm Martin Catherall, past regional mentor. They do database stuff, things like that. That's kind of my go-to kind of task, if you like. And I'm an MVP on the data platform. So I've only really got into AI myself over the last few years. And the sort of pathway that I've chosen, I kind of had to find my own feet, and I'm kind of using that as an example to share how you can maybe get into cognitive services and take your first steps into AI a lot easier than I did. Because I guess one of the things that we all struggle with when we come to a new technology is finding our feet and finding that point that's good to begin at, rather than beginning at a certain point, then realizing it's not so great, starting somewhere else. And through iteration, we eventually get to the right place where we can start. But so this presentation is basically going to be in two main sections. We're going to just look at an introduction, see a few examples around AI, some quite basic stuff, but quite interesting. And then we're going to go on and look at the AI components through a series of not necessarily demos, but working examples. Now, the code I'm going to use is from a very well-known site, some good resources that are available right now on the internet. So the code's literally there now. You don't have to wait for me to upload it or download it. You can literally play with it as we speak. Or just bookmark it, and over the next weeks, months, whatever you choose to do, you can go in and play with it. But we'll come to all that later. We'll just hop into what is artificial intelligence, and I guess at its core, it's sort of it's not doing anything really that a human being couldn't do themselves. However, it's obviously doing it a damn sight faster than you could do it, and at speeds which is like unimaginable to any human being. You only have to look at things like, say, scanning number plates, going through a toll, going over the Gateway Bridge, say in Brisbane. picks up your number plate, makes sure you've got a scanner in the car, goes through your bank account, takes money off you, all kind of magically happens in the background. So obviously you could do that yourself, but while you were writing down someone's registration number, another 50 million cars would have gone past you, so to speak. So other things we can do is detect abnormal behavior. I was in Seattle a couple of years ago and I purchased at the bar 3 cans of beer. And now, unknown to me, well, at the time, I got a text straight away off my bank, which I ignored. But what had actually happened was they'd stopped my credit card. And what happened is I literally just paid for those 3 cans of beer with my credit card. And unknown to me, the cashier had put that transaction through multiple times. And as I found out later, like 13 transactions had gone through and they'd gone through fine, but my card had been stopped immediately. So that's an example of detecting abnormal behavior. So I guess we've already seen vision capabilities, reading number plates, looking for faces in crowds at airports, locating specific individuals, well-known celebrities, and things like that. Text and language is a huge one as well. Not just recognizing handwriting on a piece of paper, being able to talk. And some of the voices that are now in AI are really capable. I mean, if you even think back a few years ago, the voices that accompanied your GPS were quite broken up, and you could tell they were fake voices, so to speak. But now we can literally have computer systems that can imitate kind of me talking. And then that just goes on to holding conversations. Obviously, we've seen things like bots that are on websites for our banks. They give the impression of real people, but behind the scene, they call things like Katana or Siri or whatever. I'm sure the Commonwealth Bank have got one. And they can be quite helpful. Not totally helpful at this stage, but they can be refined to answer questions more freely and that sort of thing. And the power to do all this is really at your fingertips. Even
Sorry,
as
Martin.
Sorry
to interrupt you. So one of the attendees saying you have the stop sharing button there. If you can move it to the right side or out of the screen.
Sorry, say that again, David.
You have the StreamYard option there that says stop screen sharing. Yeah, so if you can move it outside. Right. Yeah, that's it. That's it.
I'm sorry about that. Yeah, okay. I actually seen that there myself, but on a lot of platforms, even though the speaker can see it, the attendees can't. I didn't realize that was in people's way. I'm sorry, I apologize. So all those things that we've been through are literally at your fingertips. As even as a novice, you could probably sit down today, and we'll actually work through some examples in a little while. I've seen things like computer vision, maybe an anomaly detection, and all these things. So I'm not going to really touch on the machine learning part. I can share, speaking after me, is going to dive into Machine Learning Studio, and she'll probably show you some more of that. But effectively, most of this artificial intelligence has got machine learning in the background. And a lot of those modules are actually wrote for us in cognitive services. And so we can just go and grab, say, a face API or a handwriting recognition API, OCR. Now I'm calling them APIs, but they're actually just pre-built components that you can go in, create. You need some keys to access them, maybe like connection strings that most developers would be used to access things like databases and that. And then you can just plug in pictures or whatever, train models without writing any code at all, and have access to all these wonderful things. So we just been through basically examples of what anomaly detection, computer vision, natural language processing, and conversational AI can do. But as you got more into AI, one of the interesting things that I found, and we're not going to touch on deep learning here, but this particular example was really interesting to me. So imagine you and your friend sat down to play chess. Now, you didn't know anything about chess, you didn't know the rules or anything at all, but you each had in front of you a piece of paper that told you the rules. It basically told you that king could move here, where the rules of chess. So you and your friend could sit down and you could work out over time how to play the game, and over time you'd become very, very proficient at it. However, computer systems can do that sort of thing in like sort of an unbelievable time period, like almost seconds, where they can start off not knowing anything about chess in this example. They'll play each other, analyze the rules, work out the best moves, and within next to no time, they're playing like countless games in seconds and becoming so good that they're good enough to beat like the world chess champions. Sort of thing that even like 10 years ago, when we were talking about a computer called Deep Blue doing this, it was kind of a bit hard, and it was possible, but not that imaginable. So there's some of the things that obviously we can do with AI. Another good example is curing diseases. For example, a patient who's got something obscure wrong with them, we can take their body metrics, maybe run them through a series of algorithms that knows about every single illness known to man, basically, and make a diagnosis really quick. Now, obviously, that technology is probably not mainstream at the minute, but it does exist today in some quarters, and I guess it'll become mainstream in the long run. So I've got in front of me at the minute just a brief diagram, kind of just a bit to outline how my path was into AI. Now, I've got a SQL background. I'm a data person. I've been doing data for nearly 20 years. So the big blue circle in the middle is like a data engineer, but you could replace that with a data anything you like. In fact, you don't even have to replace it with a data anything you like, because most people are totally familiar with data in general. But if we look around the side here, we'll see the AI roles, and there's a huge crossover. Well, this diagram doesn't show a huge crossover, but crossover is bigger than this alludes to. AI developer, AI engineer, and data scientists, and they've all got intermingling kind of crossover. So knowing a little bit about one and a little bit about the other is going to be quite beneficial for you. And the examples we're going to see very soon will make that obvious. So I guess to kind of start off with, I wanted to show an application that's available on iOS and Android. You can download this right now. In fact, I'm going to show this on screen. It's a 1-minute video. I'm going to post it I'll post the video link in the comments as well. But I will just open that link. Like I say, hopefully the sound will play. It should very well play. Just flick over. Yes. Right, I'll put that out to full screen.
Seeing AI is a Microsoft research project for people with visual impairments. The app narrates the world around you by turning the Seeing AI is a Microsoft research project for people with visual impairments. The app narrates the world around you by turning the visual world into an audible experience. Point your phone's camera, select a channel, and hear a description. The app recognizes saved friends.
Jenny near top right, 3 feet away.
Describes the people around you, including their emotions.
28-year-old female wearing glasses looking happy.
It reads text out loud as it comes into view, like on an envelope.
Ken Lawrence, P.O. Box.
Or a room entrance.
Conference 2005.
Or scan and read documents like books and letters. The app will guide you and recognize the text with its formatting.
Top and left edge is not visible. Hold steady. Lease agreement. This agreement
When
exit.
paying with cash, the app identifies currency bills.
$20 US.
When looking for something in your pantry or at the store, use the barcode scanner with audio cues to help you find what you want.
Campbell's tomato soup.
When available, hear additional product details.
Heated microwave bowl on high.
And even hear descriptions of images in other apps like Twitter by importing them into Seeing AI.
A close-up of Bill Gates.
Finally, explore our experimental features like scene descriptions to get a glimpse of the future.
I think it's a young girl throwing a frisbee in the park.
Experience the world around you with the Seeing AI app from Microsoft.
Okay, so that was an example of basically an application that Microsoft have put together, which relies on AI. Now, clearly that's aimed at people who have difficulty seeing, but I'm sure you can see the possibilities that this can bring to you in your everyday lives. One of the things I used it for, like I was saying to David before this clip, we went on a road trip up to Cairns, and we obviously seen a lot of touristy things and that. And I'd take pictures of the signs, and then when we were in the car or something, I could get them read out loud to me about where we'd just been and that. So that's kind of an example of how you can do this. And this technology, although this has probably been enhanced in that by lots of professionals, is available to you inside Cognitive Services right now. So before we move into having a look at code and that, Microsoft have got a lot of responsible AI principles, and there's 6 of them here on the screen. And privacy and security, fairness. We don't want to bias the system, especially if it's doing something like it's involved in the legal system. Biasing that could be fairly not great. So being transparent about how it got there, not disadvantaging certain people or certain groups of society, is basically a principle of AI. So there's a link down the bottom there to something called the Face API, and we're just going to go over and have a look at that. Now, you'll actually see up the top, there's a disclaimer there saying that anything that's uploaded is not going to be used for any kind of legal stuff at all. And that's kind of only appeared over the last few months and that. But so this is about the Face API, which we'll have a look at in our demos very soon. But this documentation is quite advanced, and there's all the things you need here to get started. You'll see there's quick starts over here, tutorials for using SDKs and things like that. And this is particularly for the Face service. And one of the things I'll just generally point out about documentation is there's a link down here. It says download PDF. If we were to click on that, which I'll just do briefly, I won't download anything. This will basically give you the whole documentation set as a PDF. So it's sort of easily searchable for you. Might be a bit better than navigating it. But if we just go back one level to the Cognitive Services main screen, we'll see that Cognitive Services is basically a suite of applications. So Cognitive Services itself is kind of an umbrella term for all the smaller services that exist within the wider product. So we got things like computer vision, custom vision. You might wonder what the difference is between them. Custom vision, I kind of think about it's more where you train the model yourself to identify, I don't know, fruit or whatever it is. We'll definitely have a look at one of those examples. We've got faces, where we recognize faces, forms, videos. We can recognize faces and objects and things like that within videos. Lots of language understanding. Now, Microsoft have got something called LUIS, which is language understanding. And that's taken the conversational AI mantra kind of quite far. And it's built into something called Q&A Maker, which is basically a knowledge base lets you create a knowledge base yourself, either using, say, documents that already exist, or by slowly over time refining questions and answers you've got off your customers, rather like some of the bots do at the moment. Speech services, similar. And then things about decision making, we see an anomaly detection. Content moderation is interesting. We can actually point our services at pictures, and they can say, has it got adult content there? Is it a bit racy? Is it relevant to children? That sort of thing. So these things are getting really, really advanced indeed. So that's just the Face API that brought us into this screen. But then we went back and looked at the Cognitive Services suite as a whole. So that's like a great web page that we can go to in general. So we should just stayed on that screen and looked at the computer vision. So rather than me actually perform code, we're going to look at code very shortly, but I've kind of took the approach that it's better to show these things using examples that already exist, that you can go and play with yourself kind of immediately. So this is showing like the computer vision API, if you like. So we'll go right up to the previous steps, and all it's going to do is analyze these images here, different images. So go to the next step, and it's going to just read text off the images. So we'll pick an image, say this one, and obviously you might be thinking, yeah, that's some sort of trickery going on behind the scenes, but what's actually happening is the Cognitive Services reading that handwriting and obviously telling us what's there. So here we've got one here, college tuition, and there's various other things, recognizing people's faces. Now there's a specific API in here that sort of extends the Face API and to recognize famous people. Obviously you can get it to recognize you or your friend, but you would have to train the system yourself to kind of recognize you or recognize your name, and that is perfectly possible. So recognize famous landmarks, famous landmarks, and and that sort of thing is like just built out of a box for you. So and what we get with the objects, how obviously this is a visual display, so some quite some objects that are very common, and around them is what we call a bounding box. And if you were to build a application to do this, what would be returned would obviously be not a visual, would be some sort of JSON, and in there it would tell you the coordinates of the bounding box, what that object was, or what the system thought that object was, and what kind of accuracy was attached to that object. So in this case, the JSON might say to banana, it's been trained on a whole load of banana images, and it's 99% certain it's a banana, whereas same with an orange or same with an apple. And then a very similar sort of thing with people. So here we can see it's obviously identified a person over here, and then to the right it's took that a bit further. It said, yep, this is a person. It's put a bounding box around their face, took an educated guess at their age, identified they've got jeans and footwear on. So it's took that to the next level. And then in the graphic further to the right, it's took it one stage further again. Again, we can see the faces around the bounding boxes around the faces. And it's done what's called sentiment analysis. So it said, obviously, this person's looking happy and 75% accuracy. And this other person further over to the right is looking happier still. And we've got like a 92% accuracy there. And then we can see that this has got what we call tags. So when this has been trained, images have been uploaded, we've tagged those images, the computer in the background has matched those trained images to images that are in the picture and basically regurgitated their tags. So I'm sure you can see this is probably not doing anything that you yourself couldn't do as a human being. Basically, that's all AI is, imitating kind of cognitive ability to detect things and just do things a whole lot quicker, like many million times quicker than you could probably do them as a human being. And so the possibilities of this stuff are obviously endless. As was pointed out in the last video, last speaker, this can be used for great things. It can potentially also be abused and used for not so great things as well, which is obviously where the Microsoft and privacy principles come into play. So we've been through a load of slides. So I basically said that now we're going to dive in and see how to use this stuff in real life. And where I'm going to take my examples from are the new role-based certifications that Microsoft have brought in. So, I mean, if you come here for the first time and you're just not up to play with AI at all, you might be sitting there thinking, oh, so now you're talking about taking an exam in AI. Don't let that put you off. I mean, if you don't want to take the exam at all, you can just follow through the examples and the documentation online and just get up to play, if you like, with what's going on. So there's quite a lot of these this one's called AI 900, Artificial Intelligence 900. And lots of the Microsoft certifications with that 900 number are basic entry-level exams. So don't let the 900 put you off. It is entry-level. I don't know where they got the numbering from, because the next one up to that is called AI 100, and that's kind of builds on the information in the AI fundamentals. And there's another one there for Azure fundamentals, which is kind of good to get your knowledge up just about Azure in general. So there's a couple of links here to GitHub, where you'll actually find additional material that you can kind of go over. But let's jump over now and go into the Azure portal and the Microsoft Learn documentation and just see what is available here. So here we're looking at the AI 900 Microsoft Azure fundamentals. And even if you're looking for something else, you can hit the roles button, and there's a whole load of role-based certifications coming into play here. We can see AI engineer, which is what we're looking at here on that pathway. And if you were to click on that, you'll see a lot of basically what we call learning pathways that will take you into exploring things like the cognitive vision services, like the natural language processing and other things that are associated with AI. And these are all part of basically working towards that any of those exams, or just going through this material to get to know, for example, how to build hubs or speech services, language services, or whatever. So that's actually quite interesting. Those role-based qualifications have only kind of come in over the last year or so and are replacing other Microsoft exams. But let's actually dive in to one of those pathways and see how you can get started. So here I've actually jumped into the analyze images with computer vision. And all of these pathways in the basic offering take the same kind of approach. You'll see here there's five exercises to go through, and the third one says takes 20 minutes, and the other ones are literally quite trivial. So that's the one we're going to look at. We're actually going to dive into there, and this actually shows us how to get a free Azure subscription. Now, obviously you're using cloud-based AI in the Azure cloud, so you are going to need access to an Azure subscription. Sorry, just getting a quick drink of water there. But you can actually get access to a subscription for free. Now, you will have to put in a credit card. The credit card is used purely to validate that you are a person, an individual, and that we haven't seen this credit card before. Now, there's a setting inside the Azure portal which caps the spending. Now, it's not spending money that you personally are going to spend. There's $100 spending limit on that service. Once that spending limit is reached, you basically can't surpass it. You can only surpass it if you take some sort of action and go into the portal and change your billing model. So although you're using a credit card, it's not some sort of trick to get you to spend money and next month it's going to bill you hundreds of dollars. You will not be billed at all unless you change that setting. And even after this $100 expires, there is still a lot of free services that you can use. And some of these AI services are free. There's still a lot of services you can use for free for up to 12 months. So if you've got access to something like an MSDN subscription or that, obviously this doesn't apply. If you don't have access to any Azure resources, dive in, get yourself a free subscription and play with this. So what we're going to do is this is going to take you through setting up some what we call notebooks. And those notebooks are going to have code in already. I'll actually dive over and show you one of the notebooks that we'll look at very shortly. So the notebooks have got code in them. Now, you do not have to understand this code at all. All you're going to do is basically replace certain attributes with code of your own. You'll see here, I've replaced a key and I've replaced a URL. And that's literally all you're going to have to do. You're not going to have to make changes to this code. You're not going to have to modify it in any way. There's no kind of instructions to modify anything. It's purely here to help you explore the cognitive services that are available. So I'm just going to jump back over to, and I'm not going to go through this step by step. I'm going to very quickly go through what you're going to do. You go over to this thing called ml.azure, which is basically the Azure Machine Learning Studio. The next session after me is probably going to show that in a lot more detail and talk about machine learning. So I'll leave that for later. But you'll hop over to that studio and then you will create something called a machine learning studio resource and then link up to it. Now, once you've linked up to it, this machine learning studio, but once you've linked up with it, what you will essentially see is you'll create a blank notebook. I've called it get files here. It's basically going to run a line of Python code. And the only code that you have to touch is this line here. And you'll copy and paste that from an existing exercise. So if we come down, we'll see here, all those instructions that I've just said are listed out here. And then it basically says, copy this line of code and paste it into the first cell on the notebook. Now, I've already run this because it does take a little bit of time to actually run. But all that line of code does is it will go away to GitHub and it will download to this resource a whole heap of notebooks. And here they are here. So here's all the notebooks. And we can see, obviously, by the names, kind of what they do. analyze images, detect objects, face API, text analytics. And we obviously haven't got time to go through all of these, but I definitely encourage you to get to this point and explore how you go about doing this. So let's just have a look at this one, which is the face API. So how are we going to, what are we going to do here? And they'll all kind of follow the same pattern. So I said that I pasted in a key and I pasted in a URL. So how did I get those two things? Well, what I did was I went to the Azure portal over here and I went to create a resource. So I've actually already done this, but I'm just going to walk through with you to explain. So Cognitive Service, like I said, that's a suite of applications. So you've got a choice. You can either create an object of Cognitive Services, and with that object, you will get access to like literally everything. It's like the face API, the image API, literally everything. And that's what I've done here. Now, you do have another option. What you could do, instead of creating the top level Cognitive Service object, you could actually just create, like, say, a face API object, which is like getting pretty specific, or you could create an image API object. So the choice is yours. Essentially, the main difference is with the top level Cognitive Service object, you can obviously use the same key, which we're going to see in a minute, to access any of the subclasses. The main advantage there is you'll be billed as a whole, or your subscription will be built as a whole. Whereas if you maybe want to do a separate face API and just be billed separately for the face recognition stuff, you can do that. So the choice is yours. But at this stage of the game, it doesn't really matter what you do. I've created a Cognitive Services account, and I've just called it generic there. So that's already been set up. I set that up previously, and I'm just going to hop in to that object. And we can see there's some quick start tutorials there, which you can go through in your own time. But the piece of information that we're specifically looking for here is the keys and endpoints. So I'm just going to show the keys. Obviously, these are GUIDs. These are specific to you. Clearly, you can see this online. This will obviously be gone in the next 15 minutes or so. But the piece of information you're going to need is one of those two keys and the endpoint. And obviously, when I created this, I had to choose a region, and I chose Australia East, which obviously Brisbane is in. So I picked that endpoint and a key, and I go over to my notebook and I simply paste it in there. Now, I've already run that cell. These cells are not going to take long to run at all. And that's basically just gone away and verified that, yeah, these keys are valid, the endpoint's valid, and you can use that. So we just go through, and just some things are happening behind the scenes. It's pulling in that API to this particular service that I've got here. It's not something that we particularly need to worry about. And then it actually shows you the code that could be used to basically identify these individuals. So I obviously have previously run this. I'll just run it again now. And we can see it's identified the faces of individuals here. And let's give us some more information there. No, it hasn't in that example. I think it will in the one below. It's this one's analyzing facial attributes. And these GUIDs would obviously come back if you were accessing this programmatically. Obviously, in looking at this, it doesn't make much sense to have them there. But it's obviously identified an adult and a child. And over here, it's identified that anger, no, contempt, no, happiness, 1. So it's got giving these attributes a score out of 1. So here it's basically saying it's supremely confident that this person is looking happy. Most of the time, you probably won't see a score of exactly 1. It'll probably be maybe very close to 1, but maybe not quite 1. And this is code that will, which you can use yourself if you want, or you can just go through these notebooks and upload people's faces, or your own face, or whatever. So that's that. Now, those images were already pre-loaded for us, but let's go over here and have a look at the image classification one. Is it image analysis? So this one is very similar, but this is actually going to take us over to, again, I've already gone through this myself, but somewhere in these instructions, it's going to take us over to this custom vision portal. And what I've done here is built myself a very quick no-code application to identify fruit. And all these images are downloadable through what I've just showed you. So how I've done this is I've set up basically a new service, and then I've added images over here. And I'll just add some of these images again, just to show you what happens. So there you go. I've added 4 oranges, and I'm going to tag those. Now, I've actually already tagged these images as oranges, but I'll tag them again as orange too. Obviously, you wouldn't do that in real life. This is just for demonstration purposes. And those objects are uploaded there. We click done, and we can obviously upload more and more images of different things. And we'll see there that I've actually uploaded 15 versions of apples, 15 bananas, 15 oranges, and I've tagged something just orange too, which is probably irrelevant. Now, after they're all loaded up and tagged, I can come up here and hit the train button, and that will basically, in the background, go away and train the ML model that's sitting behind the scenes here, and compare the apples and oranges and banana photos. And then we can actually do a quick test. So if we come in here, now I haven't actually got, let me very quickly, because I think we're nearly out of time, look for, maybe in here, image classification. There's a URL of an apple somewhere here where we can test it with. Okay, so here is a URL of basically an apple. So I'll copy that, come back over here. I'll paste that URL in. It's it. And obviously it's showing us the image, which is an apple, and it's going away and thinking about what it is. And so it's obviously said it's an apple. It's got 99.8% accuracy that's an apple, which clearly you can see it is. But, there's a 0.1% chance of, a very slim chance that it could potentially be an orange. So if you were looking at this programmatically, you'd obviously decide straight away, yep, that's an apple. And so that's really kind of a way you can get started with these cognitive services, and just playing with things like this will get you to, understand kind of what's going on. And even if you're a novice, you don't touch computers at all, you're just interested in AI, you could start uploading, images of your friends, images of people, your children, whatever, and experiment like that. Because I guess going forward, AI is going to become more and more and more a part of our lives, whether we recognize it as AI or not. So, knowing how this stuff works behind the scenes, like I say, even if you're not a computer person, it's just kind of relevant to how you work in real life anyway. And these notebooks over here. I mean, maybe they're a bit too advanced for some children not to work through, but you know, if you've got like secondary school children or whatever, they can go through these examples. And like I say, all I have to really do is set up a cognitive services object or a face API or whatever, and then paste in the keys. And that's literally all there is to it. And then you can basically learn off the code what's going on. Now, it is obviously Python code. It's not too hard there. We can see it. It tells you there. You've got to paste in the project ID, the key, and the endpoint. And so basically what we've just seen there with the apples and oranges, I could go back over to that portal, grab the prediction keys and things like that, paste them in over here, and use the model that's been generated behind the scenes through this code here in the notebook, basically. So they all go through like that. There's a bot service down there, slightly more advanced notebook, language understanding, Lewis, speech, and the like. So rather than me making my own examples up there, I thought it was probably better to just like dive in, get something that's easily accessible. So like literally every single one of you, wherever you are watching this, and you can dive in right now and start playing with this. So I think we're nearly kind of out of time. So I'll just recap there what I've said about the next steps. These AI 900 exams, they're basically fundamental exams. There's quite a lot of them around. This one's for the AI fundamentals. There's one for like data platform fundamentals, Azure fundamentals. And like I say, even if you're not going to do the exams, the resources are really good to ease you into whatever it is you want to learn, whether it's AI or Azure or whatever. So there's some additional resources there, which will take you through to GitHub projects, similar kind of concepts to the notebook sort of thing that we've just seen, but code that obviously other people have wrote that showcases these basic cognitive services and how they work behind the scenes, and basically just lets you play with them. So we are now coming up, I think we might be a couple of minutes over the 45-minute mark. So it's a bit of a whirlwind tour of cognitive services. I hope you've got something out of that, whether you come to this as a beginner or even as a fully fledged AI expert, because obviously there's additional resources you can learn behind the scenes as you progress on your journey, whatever that journey is. So I'd like to thank you for listening, and I'm happy to take any questions or just talk over some of the stuff that we've seen here today.
Well, Martin, that was amazing. Thank you a lot for presenting Azure Cognitive Services. I do have one question, actually, for the attendees that are looking at the live stream, or they're going to look at the video in the YouTube channel. Is that, what about, so you told us that pretty much starting for free is a key benefit of this Azure Cognitive Services. So from your own experience, so do you enjoy starting? Do you find it easy actually starting with Azure Cognitive Services?
I actually did. So from my own perspective, I guess we know each other, but just for the audience, my background is in data, transactional data, SQL Server, that kind of thing. Now, these cognitive services, I think they debuted about 2016, about 4 years ago. And initially, I seen people talking about them, and I just got the impression that they were quite complicated and that they had a bit of a steep learning curve. And it took me about a year or two before I actually decided to sit down and play with them. And then I don't know, I just looked at them and went, yeah, I don't know why I had that mindset, why I thought they were so difficult. Because they're actually not. And then I've seen that Microsoft have released these learn modules. And I wish they were around when I was playing with the thing, because I was kind of just learning off of the people I know in the community, seeing basically things like SQL Saturdays, which if no one knows, they're just free one-day events on a Saturday that talk not just about SQL, just talk about, well, they were originally just SQL, but now they've sprawled kind of into the Microsoft data platform, AI, ML sort of space in general. But yeah, I was just totally surprised and flabbergasted how I'd come to the decision that these were obviously at a difficult entry level, because they absolutely don't. Now, clearly, you can go on and start writing really advanced Python code and R code and whatever, and get into deep learning and do some really, really advanced things. But that wasn't what this presentation was about. This presentation was just about getting started the easiest and quickest way you can. So to answer your question kind of directly, I don't think they have got much of a learning curve at all. In fact, probably the most advanced thing you're going to have to do is set up that free account. And once you've set it up,
that's a good point.
You go.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Okay. So actually, if you want to contact Martin, actually, there you have the email address. Feel free to send him any email or information. We also have a question from Gary. He's asking if we can share the links in the chat. I think we'll follow up with you, Martin, to get those links, and we'll share them.
Okay. What link are we talking? Oh, are we talking about those links I put up for?
Yeah, I think he's talking about the links in your last slide.
Yeah. Okay. Stand by. I will do some copy and pasting right now.
And if you can share it directly in comments, just share it in private chat, and we'll share it for you.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So
cool. So Martin, thanks a lot for getting involved with the Queensland community. It's great to have you here, actually living in Queensland now.
Yeah, thanks a lot. I'll tell you what was really interesting before. The lady who spoke during the intro and told us about the Queensland AI group, which obviously in addition to the group that you're running here. And it sounds like they've got some fantastic resources for the whole community, from basically primary school children right up to people who are just looking to enhance their knowledge. Yeah,
definitely. Okay, Martin, so I need to say goodbye, but we'll keep in touch. I'll see you around in the physical events and the meetup groups. Take care.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.